For everyone that just joined in the last few minutes, we will be getting started in about 1 minute. So if you're able to mute your devices, whether you're on Skype or your cell phone, please do so while we're doing the presentation. And we'll have an opportunity for you to come off mute and ask questions at the very end. We will also have, for those of you that are on Skype, we have a chat box available as well for you to utilize.
Let's do this.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our Orlando ELT virtual training. My name is Kendall Brown, Senior Community Development Manager. I'm here out of the Winter Park office. So first and foremost, I want to thank each and every one of you for joining us tonight. We have a handful of staff on the call tonight, also with members of our event leadership teams across the Orlando area, leads and ELT members alike. So thank you so much for all that you do for Relay for Life, and thank you for carving out some time with us this evening as we share some very useful information and hope to inspire you during this call. So we definitely have a nice jam-packed hour and a half for you. Just a few housekeeping rules. If you're calling in from Skype or your cell phone device, just make sure that you mute your lines, just so there's no noise during the or talking during the presentation. Also, too, if you're joining us via Skype, there is the chat box that you can access in the lower left-hand corner of your screen, and you'll see the dialogue icon there. And you can utilize that to ask any questions throughout the presentation as we go through the different sections. We'll also have an opportunity to ask questions, come off mute and ask questions at the very end for our Q&A. So at this time, I'm going to turn everything over to our area lead, Yamil Rivera, who put this presentation together for us today. So I definitely appreciate her for doing that, and she's going to go through our agenda this evening.
Hey, everybody. It's me again. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Yamil Rivera. Thanks, Kendall, for the wonderful introduction. I am your Central Florida area lead. I'm excited and thrilled. This is my second year doing that, so very excited to be joining you again. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what we're looking at today. So, where am I doing this here? Oh, you got it there.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Quickly go through the agenda. We're going to do some welcome and introduction so you kind of know who in your area is your go-to folks who you can rely on for resources and information. We're going to have a mission moment because we should always, everything we do with Relay, bring it back to mission. So we're going to have a mission moment. I'm going to talk a little bit about Vision 2020, what we're looking at for our relays for 2020 and what are the priorities. We'll talk a little bit about the 3 Ps, some benchmarks, some things that you should be focusing and concentrating on now. We're going to look at some community mapping, some resources for training and social resources that you're going to need. And I'm going to give you some next steps. And then we'll have some time for Q&A at the end. Okay. So briefly, I wanted to introduce this incredible group of people here. This is the Southeast Regional Volunteer Leadership Team, a mouthful. Basically, we're the VLT. I am part of that big group there. Nan and Susie, the lady in the red pants and the striking redhead, it's somewhere in there, are fearless leaders up in the Southeast region. As you know, hey LBV, good to see you. Our whole territory is split up into 11 regions, Southeast making one of those. And this is the team that supports us We get all of our marching orders from corporate, from our national leadership team. And in this region, we meet together to strategize, get those visions put into place. And then that is what we share with all of you as we move forward on our next season, our next relay year. So I wanted to, so that you can see that this is a great deal of work. We actually worked a whole weekend where we planned and strategized and focused on what exactly were the areas that we needed to focus. So that's what I'll be sharing with you tonight. But I wanted you to see the org chart a little bit about who's actually doing that work. So after the Southeast Region lead, you'll see me, Yamil Rivera. I'm your area lead. And then we have some folks, our event mentors. They are the true heart of our area. These are the folks that you're going to be relying on as a second resource to your CDM. We're here to support the community development managers, and these wonderful event mentors can help do that. So we have myself, and I'll be working with Lake Buena Vista, Winter Haven, South Polk, Solivita, and Mulberry. Hunter is going to be working with the Brevard area. So he's got South Brevard beaches, South Brevard, Central Brevard, and that Gateway to Space 5K, which he'll probably talk about a little bit because he's one of our presenters. It's a really cool, innovative relay that we have out there. And then we've got Maria Mills, but not. And she's working with our Daytona relays, Flagler, one of the feeder relays from Port Orange, West Volusia, and Southeast Volusia. And then out in the Treasure Coast area, we've got Nancy, and she's doing Indian River, St. Lucie County, Martin County. For our area up North Orlando, we've got Mary Moss, and she'll also be presenting tonight, so you'll hear from Mary tonight. She's got the awesome collegiate team of UCF, West Orange, North Seminole, Oviedo, Winter Springs, and East Orange. Lisa Mancini is going to be covering Orlando South, Osceola County, Hunters Creek, and Lake Nona. And then welcoming on board Chrissy. She's going to be covering Lakeland, the Villages, North Lake County, and Sumter County. And Leslie Castillo is actually my right hand here at the ACS office, including Kendall. But Leslie and I are on a weekly chat and monthly face-to-face. And we kind of lead this pack, and hopefully you can rely on us for everything that you need. So wanted to make sure, shout out to Leslie. And I will turn it over to Kendall, who's going to introduce you to a couple of really important people to us.
All right, folks. So we just wanted to, for everyone that's on the line tonight, and especially if you're watching through Skype, just so you get some faces with some names of who your Orlando ACS staff partners are. James Atkinson is our ACS senior manager out of the Winter Park office, the Orlando market with community development. There's myself, senior community development manager, managing Lake Nona, Lake Buena Vista, and UCF. We have Tab Bartlett with community development, managing Oviedo, Winter Springs, Orlando South, and East Orange. And then we have Luis Sanchez Negron, who's supporting Osceola County, West Orange, Hunters Creek, and North Seminole. And then we also wanted to highlight Gina Battetti, who is a senior event support manager with the interim remote support team. She has been helping us throughout 2019, just filling in some gaps for us during transition times with our events. So we wanted to highlight her as part of our team as well. And now I'm going to turn it back over to Yamil, and she's going to talk about our 2020 priorities.
Awesome. So this is a really cool, this is all about that meeting that I told you we had, the big strategy meeting, and what our vision are 3 Ps, we're calling them. It'll be people, partnership, and prosperity. So I'll go through those real quick for you. These are the 3 strategic areas we thought would be really relevant to help promote our mission, help promote people on the track, partnerships, and everything. So this is the 3 areas that we are going to focus on this year and hopefully make 2020 the best year ever. So in terms of people, it's building a recruitment plan and identifying a team of volunteers to implement that plan. And we'll get a little bit more of that information when Mary does our community mapping section of the presentation tonight. You'll actually be able to hear a little bit about how we think that recruitment plan is going to work out. And then we've got partnerships. Increase hashtag Goal Together involvement in fundraising. For those of you who don't know, Goal Together is the initiative that Laura Eicher and her son Cole have put together. It is an incredible initiative addressing child cancer, and it's also been an actual great new innovative funding approach for some of our relays. Now, there is an application process and everything that goes with that. But we can get that information. You can certainly ask your CDMs for the applications and how that process works. But it is a great boost if you don't have an existing team on your relay. It's a great avenue to get new participants, a new innovative approach for your relay, and a great fundraising tool as well. We also are going to look at identifying potential partners, identifying a team to approach the partners and activate. And we'll talk a little bit about that as we talk about the community mapping and recruitment wheel that we're going to talk about in a little bit. And then, of course, prosperity, because we do all of this so that we can raise funds so we can attack cancer from every angle. And we're going to do that by increasing our customer satisfaction scores. Also, by building a stewardship plan for our top and mid-tier performers. So getting those relayers that are right there at the cusp, at the $75, and they need just $25 more to get to that 100 Hope Club. Let's focus on those performers because we already know those are active relayers. So these are the ones that we want to focus on this year because they're already there. We just need to push them that little bit more that'll get them over to the edge. And also, we're in the middle, the Southeast region is actually working on an innovation assessment tool that we're going to be handing out to all of our relays this year. And it's actually going to help you start thinking about what are some new ways, some new things that we could do to innovate our relay. We know that every year, if you don't do something new, if you're not attracting new people, then of course it's going to get tougher and tougher. So the idea is let's come up with something new. For instance, the University of the big one up in. Give me a second. It was, no, it's not. It was in they're part of our, JMU. Thank you. Virginia Tech, both of them. They literally throw out about 30% of their relay and start 30% fresh. So they look at all of their events, what they did that year, and they actually take about 30% of what they've done and they say, we're not using this year, we're going to start fresh. We want 30% new innovative ideas for fundraising or entertainment or activities to bring that extra punch that you need. So that's a great way of doing that. So now it's time for, like I said, our mission moment. Everything revolves about our mission. So I'm going to turn it over to Kendall to introduce our mission moment speaker.
All right. This evening, I'm privileged to introduce our speaker for our mission moment. Butch Rivera is here with us this evening, and he is our Orlando ACT Ambassador Constituent, part of the Ambassador Constituent team, lead for Florida District 9 with ACS CAN, the advocacy side of the American Cancer Society. He was fortunate enough to lobby this year in September and meet with our Florida-based senators and House of Representatives to lobby on behalf of bills that we are hoping they will support. He is passionate about this mission and is also a prostate cancer survivor. Butch will be sharing with us tonight the top priorities of this year's mission.
Stay close. Good evening, everybody. My name is Butch Rivera, and I'm very glad and honored to be here to talk to you guys this evening. The ACS CAN, or the Cancer Action Network, is the advocacy arm of the ACS group that works specifically with the legislators at a local, state, and federal level, made up of all volunteers, just like all of us here on this call tonight. It's broken up by Florida congressional districts. So for each of the 27 districts we have an ACT lead, which is the Ambassador Constituent Team lead. And each of those folks have a number of other folks that help them on that team. And their main job is to go out and visit and lobby legislators, again, at the local, state, and federal levels, to talk about bills and funding that are near and dear to us that can help us beat this cancer thing. We can go forward. So in September, we had the opportunity to meet with our federal legislators. So we met with Senator Marco Rubio and Senator Scott, as well as with all of the other House of Representatives that we had in the market. And what you see on the screen here are the 4 legislative asks that we met with each of the individuals for. First and foremost is the cancer research funding. We wanted to ensure that we continue to funding the National Institute of Health to the tune of $41.6 billion, of which 6.5 would go to the National Cancer Institute. The good news on that regard, since we've had that meeting, that budget or those amounts have been approved. Unfortunately, we're still waiting for Congress to go ahead and approve the overall budget and move forward, but the funding levels that we requested were included in the budget. From a quality of life perspective, the PACHETA bill, or the Palliative Care and Education Act, is an emerging field that allows the practitioners in the healthcare industry, from nurses to doctors, et cetera, to provide comprehensive training, education, and comfort to folks that have chronic diseases, particularly with cancer, at any stage, for any particular cancer. So it's an emerging field. That particular bill that we requested was actually passed 30 days ago by the House of Representatives. So at this point now, we're waiting for the Senate to pick up the bill and be able to move it forward. So from the House of Representatives side, that bill has been recently passed. The colorectal cancer request that we've got, currently now Medicare does cover colorectal cancer screening for our senior citizens. However, upon doing the colonoscopy, if they detect any type of modules in there and they remove them, those items are actually not covered. And seniors can get a surprise bill of anywhere from $300 to $500. For our seniors, it could be quite detrimental. And as a result, some may opt not to get a colonoscopy for fear that they'll have that bill going through. So this is a loophole that we're trying to get closed up so that Medicare can cover the removal of those. The bill currently has 320 co-sponsors on the House side. So this should be coming up for a vote very, very soon. And it looks like because of the bipartisanship of the bill, it'll pass. But just like with the PACHETA bill, we'll have to wait for it to see if the Senate will pick it up and move forward. And then finally, on a legislative ask, is the tobacco group, and that is supporting legislation to eliminate flavoring of products, flavoring of tobacco products, excuse me. We'll talk a little bit about that more in a second with the legislative ask, but I'm sure you guys have seen this has been big on the news with flavored products, absolutely appealing to none other than and being marketed to kids. Kids are looking at these products like cotton candy and Skittles and all of these wild flavors that do nothing really than attract young kids to get to vaping. So we're asking to make sure that we increase the sale of these products to 21 years of age at a federal level. And restrict the online sales because we have folks out there that are circumventing the process and being able to purchase some of the products. So that's the 4 legislative asks that we've got. Then these past 2 or 3 weeks, a quick picture here, we have had the opportunity to do what we call the Florida Cancer Action Week. And the Florida Cancer Action Week is more than just a week. We've done it now. We're probably in week 3 because of the holidays. There was so much going on. We have the entire team, so we've got all 27 of the ACT leads along with the folks on their teams, reach out to 120 different House of Representatives and 40 state senators and go to their offices to talk about our asks at a state level. So we provided them with all of the literature and the positions that we're at and asked for their support. So the first one is exactly the last one at the federal level, and that's the tobacco 21 law. And that would be the ability to increase smoking to the age of 21. There's a couple of other components in there. The bigger one is being able to include vaping or e-cigarettes as part of tobacco products. Because right now, those items are not included in the definition of tobacco products. So we have a number of state law enforcement agencies and retailer licensing that helps put those enforcements in place. But because vaping and e-cigarettes is not included in the language under tobacco products, the enforcement of the sale of those items becomes difficult to do. So we're asking to make sure that we update that definition, if you will, and to push tobacco 21 to 21 years of age. We currently, with the passing in Pennsylvania, there are now 19 states that currently have increased their smoking age limits to 21 years of age. So there's 19 states we currently have right now. The Mary Brogan breast cancer and cervical cancer funding program is a program that's been in place for a number of years now. It's currently funded at $8.83 million. $7 million comes from the federal government, and then we're just asking for the maintaining of 1.83. They have funded it in the past. This particular program targets women that don't have any insurance to be able to cover for this screening program. We currently have about, and it covers women from the ages of 50 to 64 years of age. We currently have 6.5 million women in that category. We have about approximately 650,000 that fit into that poverty level of 200% poverty level or higher. And of that number, about 25% of those women do not have insurance to be able to cover that screening. So our ask is to be able to maintain that program. It's currently being administered by the leading county health organizations. And so again, our ask there, please maintain that 1.83 so that we can continue funding of that program. And my print is getting a lot smaller, so it's harder to see what's happening here. What's happening? It's shifting. Let me look up at the screen.
Biomedical research.
The biomedical research bill is right now currently, it's a projection of about 131,000 people will get cancer this year. They'll be told you have cancer. Unfortunately, we rank 12th in the number of states in terms of the funding that we receive from the National Cancer Institute. So our ask with this group, what they've done in the past, is to be able to provide more money for biomedical research, to continue the great programs that we've got in place, to help attract the brightest talents that we've got to help with that area. There's two specific programs that are listed there in the program that last year they were funded at $10 and at $13 million. And our ask is for $50 million. You know, obviously you're going to shoot high and try and get down, but the idea here is we need to continue the biomedical funding and ask for their support in that area. And then finally, the Tobacco-Free America. So in 1997, the state of Florida won their landmark legislation against big tobacco. And as a part of that settlement, began the Florida Prevention of Smoking Program, and they funded it for $70 million. Excuse me. It's actually a charter on the Florida Constitution now, and I'll ask, and has been for the years since it's been done in '97, is that we maintain this $72.3 million ask. The tobacco-free Florida program, I think everybody has seen many commercials. It's a great cessation program. We're trying everything we can to stop smoking, especially at the kid level. Right now, statistics show that 95% of smokers out there began smoking before the age of 21. 95% of smokers started smoking before the age of 21. So there's a number of programs we're looking to try and do to, from the cessation program aspect of it to stop smoking. Some of our more recent legislative wins was the inclusion of vaping in the Florida Clean Indoor Air Act. So in the past, you'd be able to vape at work and go on there with no repercussions. And that bill was recently put in there, and that was a direct work for the program that we've been doing with the tobacco-free program. So those were our 4 legislative asks at the state level that we work with our legislators. We'll continue to make that progress. Again, we go once a year in September to Washington, D.C., and then every other year at the state level, because of the way the legislature is set up, we go every other year, and we have one of these Cancer Action Weeks where we actually go to Tallahassee and lobby them there. And the year that we don't go is like what we did this year, when we actually go to the offices directly and be able to do their asks. So that's all that I have. We'll turn it back over. I appreciate the time talking to you, and we'll chat soon.
In the car accident, I asked her. Yeah. She said
Ask her for her address.
Okay.
Yeah, just a reminder to everyone as we continue the presentation, if you don't have your device on mute or your Skype, if you're dialing in from Skype, just make sure that you put it on mute so that way you're not coming through during the presentation. So next we're going to get into ELT roles.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So we're going to get into ELT roles, and to help me with this evening, I have with me the Exec Board Chair of the Relay for Life of University of Central Florida with me, Ms. Haley Harden. So she's going to talk about our priorities for event leads.
Hi everyone, I'm Haley, and like Kendall said, I am the Student Director of UCF's Relay for Life. So I'm just going to go through our priorities really quick for event leads. So first priority is that you want to be the primary volunteer voice to support your committee and your teams. So you have to be ready to be a sounding board. If anyone has anything, they can come to you. You're there to support them and give them what they need. And with that, you also need to be a source of encouragement and recognition for your event leadership team volunteers. So as you guys all know, relays get a little crazy, everyone gets busy, there's lots to do, so you have to make sure you're always staying positive and you're really encouraging them to keep going even when they do get busy. It's really important, and sometimes we just have to remind everyone how important what we are doing is. And then setting goals and sharing them with your ELT and team captains is really important. I found that setting weekly, monthly goals and letting people know really encourages them to hit it, because our overall event goal is always very large and it's always very far away. So if we set smaller, more manageable goals, it really encourages people to reach those. And then you also want to make sure you're reviewing your timeline and focusing on what you need to do now. So, you know, these events are planned a year out, but there's always something to do leading up to that, whether it's getting your team captains together, helping them build their teams, helping book everything for your relay. There's steps that you need to take. It can't all be put together, so you need to make sure you're focusing on what you need to do. And building up your committee is one of those parts. You need to make sure you're finding those dedicated people who are going to help you put on your relay. And then you need to recruit your teams, your sponsors, and your survivors and caregivers. So I believe there's going to be a bit later that's talking specifically about what you can do to recruit those teams, but a relay is only as good as its community and the people that you bring out to help put it on. So you really want to make sure that you're communicating and having those people who are going to help you raise money and put your relay on. And then finally, just because you have your volunteers on your ELT doesn't mean they get to take a break. We are doing this because we want to fundraise money to help fight cancer. So of course, the most important part of being on an ELT is making sure that you're setting an example for the people that we're asking to help us fundraise. So I tell my UCF exec board, our goal is always $200 per person, and pretty much everyone far exceeds that. But just making sure that everyone knows everyone is a part of creating that fundraiser. So if everyone just raise a little bit of money, we can have a huge payoff at the end. So thank you.
All right, as we continue to play musical chairs here, I'm going to get into some of our organizational charts that you can use for building your ELT. Now, I always say these are not gospel. This is a guide. Don't let this intimidate you, overwhelm you. This is just a structure to be able to follow and split up the responsibilities here. So at the top, you see that we have on this example, we have the Relay for Life event, the event chair, the event lead, and then you have underneath that lead, and you can also have a co-lead as well. That there's no problem with that. In fact, I personally encourage that. And underneath them is a people lead. So, bringing in the people, these are your team recruitment, your team retention, your survivors and caregivers. Once again, if please, all participants, if you'll mute your lines while we're going through the presentation, whether you're on Skype or via cell phone. Next, we have the experience lead, and this is and the build the fun lead. So this is where more focused on day of responsibility. So someone who's in charge of marketing, in charge of the online and social communications, and it doesn't have to be one person. It can be a team of people, a group of people as well. Logistics. I would say for something like that, you definitely want to have a leader in place, but also a team of people to help them, set the details of the day of, set that up. So then luminaria, recognition, and your entertainment and ceremonies. So then after that, we have the fund the mission lead. So sponsorship, fundraising, accounting, the mission, and ACS CAN all fall under this category, and you want people in place for those positions. So you may ask, well, what if my relay can't get all of these positions, or we just don't have that many people that are interested in being a part of the ELT. There are a few different structures, and so in our next slide here, this is just another example where we have an event lead, staff partner working together, and in all examples your staff partner should be involved, and then underneath that you see the different categories and the different chairs, and so this particular model eliminates the different lead positions underneath, but you would still have the chairs of the different categories here. So the first two rows there are what I would call like really your priorities, as far as team recruitment and fundraising, just to give a few examples. And then everything on here is important, but I would say that those first two top rows there are definitely your priorities. So you still may ask, well, what if this model doesn't really fit my relay? Again, these are just guides. You can even come up with your own custom model of your ELT org chart, the structure of your ELT. So to give an example of that, I'm going to turn it back over to Haley, and she's going to share the org chart, that the template that UCF uses. I thought that this would be very useful tonight. I know that we have a lot of leads from community events on the call, so there may be something that you can glean from this. She's also going to talk a little bit more about the collegiate structure and best practices with communicating to ELT. So I'm going to turn it back over to Haley.
Okay, hi again, everyone. So this is the UCF Relay for Life Executive Board structure, and probably the first takeaway from it is that there are a lot of people on the board. But remember that we're collegiate relay, so we have kids who can't necessarily commit as much time, so we've split up some positions that maybe one person could do, but we've split it up into 2 or 3, so the workload is a little bit less on our students, just to try to make sure that everything is taken care of. But the way that we split it up, we have 6 clusters, a volunteer cluster that really gets our community involved in helping us put on relay. Communications cluster, they're in charge of social media and marketing. Event development, who's in charge of all of the entertainment and activities, the logistics, and then the special events we put on throughout the year. We have our teams cluster, of course, involved with recruitment, inclusion, and communicating with our teams and participants. Our fundraising cluster, who's focused on sponsorship, fundraising, and accounting. And then our hope cluster, who's focused on mission, survivor dinner, and the luminaria ceremony. And so the way we structure our meetings and communication is that we have full board meetings every other week, and then we have just directors meetings on those off weeks, so it gives our chairs a little bit of a reprieve. But on the off weeks, the individual clusters are expected to have a meeting, though these are typically very informal, over coffee, a quick hangout, or a quick conference call. But that way the clusters are kind of teams. They go about their goals together as a group, and then the directors are able to communicate what each chair is doing to myself and the assistant directors and Kendall. And that way it just helps the flow of communication, especially when you have a large board such as this. And then finally, the last way that we all like to communicate is through an app called GroupMe. This is a really helpful app because not everyone is going to have an iPhone or an Android, so group chats can sometimes get a little weird. It's an app you can download and you can add anyone into it. It's really easy for people to communicate, and then we'll often make separate group chats if we ever have any special events we're putting on that only a portion of the board is going to be involved with. And then it just helps us streamline communication. You can pop something in there, it's instant, it's a little bit easier for people to get it than say email. And then you don't have to worry about loading 20 contacts into your phone every time you want to send out a text message. So that's about it for the Relay for Life, UCF Relay for Life Executive Board. So next I'm going to switch it over to our panel of event mentors and have them take a moment to review some advice that's going to be helpful to you guys in your role. So this is, take it away, Hunter.
Hey everyone, my name is Hunter. I am the event mentor for the Brevard Relays and Gateway to Space. So I'm going to go over a couple of resources that are available to you guys as event leads. Just a quick overview of the ones that we have here real fast. I'm going to go a little bit more into detail on some of these. Is the Relay Connect, which is through the actual Relay for Life website. Then there's the ACS brand toolkit. This is more of an internal ACS tool that you can get access to, and it has a ton of resources on it. And then there's also the Relay for Life event leadership team's support community on Facebook. That's a great way to kind of connect with other event leads. And then there's also some training packages you can go through that really spell out a lot of the particulars for being an event lead. And there's even one for team captain training as well. We go on to the next slide. So this next one is the Relay Connect. So if you don't already have a Relay Connect account, go ahead and register for one. It's really easy to do, just on the Relay for Life website. You'll see an option for Connect, or Relay Connect. I believe you can actually just use your ACS account as the same login. And then there's a ton of featured resources on there. Next slide. So one of the things you want to look at is the actual ELT and committee resources. There's a bunch of general resources, actual like event lead and chair resources in there. There's constantly posting new stuff on there. It's a really great place to find a lot of the necessary tools that you'll need to run a very successful Relay for Life event. It has everything from descriptions of your roles to talking about what the actual timelines look like, and getting through all of that. fundraising ideas, how to secure sponsorships, just a lot of the how-tos that make being an event lead so much easier. And the next slide will show more of that. You can see that there's more here about the actual roles in terms of being the event lead. And then those core four is what they're called, the bring the people, the build the fun, and the fund the mission leads. And there's a bunch of resources that break down into there. So it really has a ton of stuff that will help make everything you need to really help motivate, educate, and encourage your leads in their respective areas. The next one is the brand toolkit. Here, this is an ACS website. It's brandtoolkit.cancer.org. If you're a new user, you will have to get added to it. Just go ahead and register. It does take a little bit to get added into this tool, but once you're in, it's full of a ton of resources. Everything from graphics to different materials to promotional stuff. This take a little bit of time to get through being added to it. I think they only do it Monday through Friday during like business hours, Eastern time. Anything after hours or weekends, you have to wait till like the next business day. And then you're, once you get in, super helpful. Next slide. So this is, once you get in, this is what the brand toolkit looks like actually right now. We just finished up with the Great American Smokeout, so I think they're still rolling some of that stuff off the main page. You can find a bunch of stuff. It actually has tools to help you like create ads and marketing materials. There's all the logos and imaging you'll need. You know, why reinvent the wheel when you have all these materials at your fingertips? The next one is the Facebook page that we talked about earlier. Relay for Life Event Leadership Team Support Community. It is a wonderful resource on Facebook. If you're not a member, go ahead and follow them on Facebook. There's going to be a lot of discussion on there that's going to be very helpful to you as an event lead. I think there's a ton of information on there constantly, and it's a great way to kind of connect with some of those other, or find those other event leads, especially as people start commenting on posts and stuff like that. This next one is actually one of, I think it's an amazing thing. This is new to me this year, at least, is the East Coast Event Leadership Team Call Series. So every month, they're going to be covering a different topic. Our next one is going to be January 22nd. We'll be covering survivor, caregiver recruitment, and experience. It's the same link for every single one of them. So it's that link that you see there on the screen. I believe we do them, there's 2 per day, one in like lunchtime, one in the evening. And they just every month they're going to be covering something else to kind of build your relay. And if you get a chance to go into those, you'll have the opportunity to really learn a lot. I believe that the previous ones were recorded and are available on the Relay Connect, if I'm not mistaken. Yumil, please correct me if I'm wrong there. So if you missed the first 2, I believe those are available. But definitely try to put these on your calendar and try to log in for the next couple ones. They're going to be super helpful as we lead into the spring relay season. February, they'll be covering putting the fun in fundraising. March is how to create an epic experience. And April will be about recognition and stewardship. And now I'm going to hand it over to Mary to talk about recruitment.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I want to spend a few minutes this evening talking about a very important topic related to recruitment and community mapping. If you can go to the next slide. Community mapping is extremely important when it comes to your relays and identifying new potential teams, new potential sponsors, and just growing your overall relay community. This is a great tool that you can work on with your committees and really to identify where you may have gaps in creating a really diverse group of teams for your relay. So looking at, for example, what kind of churches may be in your area, what kind of support groups, do you have any schools, colleges, universities, health clubs, large companies that you may happen to see when you're driving into work. But you can start mapping out with your committee where you may have gaps. And then the next step is really working on a strategic plan related to who's going to start reaching out to which of the organizations via email, via cold call, and then start working on getting those folks either, committed to either a sponsorship, setting up a team, and it could even be a matter of maybe they'll do a donation of some sort. But it's a great tool to not only go through the exercise, but to continue to use this tool on an ongoing basis. So you're going back, you're reviewing it, you're assessing to see like what your results were, and then looking again to see, okay, where can we go next? Next slide, please. There is also some community mapping instructions that you can follow, and this will really go over, again, like it's more than just an exercise, it's a method, it's a new way of thinking. Build it into your process with your committee in order to keep engaging and new team members. And there are a number of other tools that are also available on Relay Connect. It includes like sample scripts that you can use. So as you're making call outs to potential teams or sponsors, there are scripts that you can follow to help remember, what your elevator speech is when you're making the calls. It'll keep you organized. The other thing to consider is creating a kit for your committee members as they go out on any kind of recruiting calls, including like sponsorship packet, save the dates, things like that that can be readily accessible for them when they're going out on the visits. And then just as some other things to remember is stay organized, make a plan, know who's going to contact which business or church, and then making sure that the committee knows, like, if you've made contact. That way you don't have multiple people trying to reach out to the same group. Make sure that you do follow up. So, if you've made a first call, make sure you're reaching back out to them, so you can keep that going through the whole process. And keep a record of your visits so you know when, would be a reasonable follow-up time. And there is also another tool that's available on Relay Connect called the Team Recruitment Playbook. Again, walking through some different play-by-play actions that you can use to bring in new teams, including the tools that we just talked about, and will be a great way to help build your teams. And from there, I'm turning it over to Yamil.
Thank you, Mary. And thank you, Hunter. You want to put a video? Yeah. There you go. I like for you to see me. So I want to thank our speakers, our incredible mission, my husband, Butch Rivera, and also our event mentors, Hunter and Mary. Thank you so much for joining tonight. Your information is invaluable, and I know these event leads can take a lot away from that. So next steps, event leads, what do you need to be focusing on and concentrating on right now? Well, here are our next steps. Your first step was to get on this call. Congratulations! You've achieved step one. Awesome. This was important because we wanted to make sure you have this information at the tip of your finger. So when your CDM isn't available, you can't get a hold of your event mentor, you know exactly where to get the information. And then if you need further explanation, we're always here for you. Step two, I would love for you to set a date with your ELTs, your committees. do a strategy session. Your next committee meeting, the focus is getting your teams up, your participants up, your sponsors up. That's what you really want to be focusing on right now. So we're going to have a little incentive for this, and you'll hear about it a little later. But I really want you to get a strategy session. So for your next committee meeting, take that first 20, 30 minutes, use that recruitment wheel, use that community mapping, use one of the examples there, and really strategize about what you want, where you want to focus. How do I get more teams on my event? How do I get more sponsorship? How do I get some more survivors and caregivers? So really plan. Number 2 should be set up that strategy session right now. We know the event is going to be in March or April. We've got a couple of months. Right now we need to really strategize on getting all these teams on, and reasons why people are going to come, because it's like throwing a big party. If you have a big party, you've got great decorations, you've got great food, but nobody's there to see it, then why bother? So this is the time we need to use right now to execute our plans. So let's take that initial time, 20, 30 minutes, to really strategize about how we can grow our relays. That's our focus right now. Step 3, execute your plan. If you don't execute, all that information that you did just goes to the garbage, right? So we need to execute our plan. Once we've strategized with our ELTs, we've given them direction, you're out recruiting new teams, new sponsors, you're getting leads, they're hot, you need to jump on them. Don't let them sit in a folder. Follow up on them. On your next committee meeting, talk about it. Okay, hey, that visit to Chuck E. Cheese, how did that go? What'd you get out of it? That visit to, the school around the corner, how did that go to? And really follow up to make sure that we're following up. And remember, a no isn't really a no. It's a maybe not now. It could be yes later. But if you're consistent with your approach, if you follow up, trust me, you will reap the rewards. So I want to make sure that you are all out there setting your total relay goal. You should have a total picture of what your overall goal is going to be. Because if we don't have a goal, we don't know where we're going to. So we need that. It's very important. And then when you're setting that relay goal, do me a favor, set some additional interim goals. How about making sure that we have 10 more teams on the track in March and April, that we have 5 more sponsors, that we have 10 new survivors. Set goals, and as you achieve those goals, you raise the bar a little bit. That's how we're going to get to expand our relays with new energy. And then always, please always recognize and celebrate the wins. If you land a sponsor that one of your ELT committee's been out there for a month trying to get them, and they finally turn in that sponsorship check, celebrate it. Make a pizza party or do anything to celebrate that win, because it feels good. They've worked hard on it, and you want to make sure you're celebrating and recognizing your ELT committees for all the work that they're doing. And of course, always please share it with your event mentors and your staff partners, your wins and opportunities, because those are the things that we're going to start putting on our Central Florida relay page. And I know all of your event leads, if you're not on my relay page, please send me an email, yamil.rivera@hilton.com, and I'll make sure that you get a link to the Facebook page, because I'm going to be celebrating and recognizing all of your wins on that Facebook page. Okay? So I'm going to turn it over to Kendall for a minute.
All right, and just to kind of echo what, piggyback off of what Yamil was saying there, I just wanted to put some additional encouragement out there for when you're making those visits, whether you're a CDM or whether you're a sponsorship chair or a team recruitment chair or anyone on the ELT and you're making those visits. Never be afraid to go somewhere twice. Like she was saying, when you go into a business at one point, or you go into a school and there's that front desk person that's looking at you like you have 3 eyes, you never know when positions at a certain business might change up, and so they get a new front desk person. So when you're making those initial cold visits to businesses to try to get in the door, always, if you went there in September, maybe it's going back in December, or if you went there last year, go again the next year, because you never know what might change. So we want you to start 2020 off strong. So we're doing a little bit of call to action here and putting an incentive out there. So for the first ELT to send a ELT team to send a photo of their strategy meeting and their 3 big areas of focus. If they send it to me at kendall.brown@cancer.org, you'll receive a pizza party for your ELT, not your entire relay, but for your ELT at a future meeting. So try to do that as soon as you can. The first one that I get in my inbox, that ELT team will receive a party. All right, so we're going to go ahead and open it up for some Q&A if anyone wants to come off of mute, or if you've been off mute the whole time and you're ready to talk. We're going to throw it out there for you to ask some questions.
We did that well. Nobody has any questions.
So quiet.
Hey, Kendall, it's
Yes.
Tab. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Tab.
Okay. Hey, and something I just kind of wanted to float this too, because if there are any committees out there that are kind of struggling to find replacement core 4 or positions like that, and I'm not suggesting this is the cure all end all, but there is a particular situation in Oviedo this year that we're actually tapping into some of the youth. Now, again, you would want to evaluate this on a per event basis. But if Lauren or Cameron or Deb Shea is on the phone, I don't know. But they are Oviedo High School Beta Club is an absolute powerhouse team and have been for the last several years. And we had some struggles finding replacement leads, over the years that I've been doing this. And actually, it kind of became a situation where we had an unbelievable event chair the last 2 years, and she, has stepped down. She's been involved with Relay for 20 years. She just needed a break. So we actually have tapped into the student, and we're going to have student leadership out there. Now, it's going to be under the tutelage of Deb Shea, who is the beta sponsor. But the excitement and the ability for them to recruit other schools, which again, schools bring the kids bring the parents bring the money. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, we're expecting a $40,000 jump in our event. That's not what I'm saying. But if they pick up a couple of middle schools, if they pick up a couple of elementary schools, if they reach out to their neighboring high schools and put some challenges out there, we could easily see a $10,000 to $15,000 jump in our event, just by having some new younger leads. And of course, for those of you that have been around as long as I have doing this, I know Emil, you have. But I think looking to the next generation is an option. So don't exclude it. And again, evaluate who you're considering, but don't be shy, because there are some really talented kids. And again, their team raised $8,000 last year. If they know what they're doing, they can teach other people how to do this. And at the same time, build up student leadership hours, community hours. And of course, when you bring on, some students like that, man, they're going to knock entertainment out. They're going to, they're going to bring the fun. They're going to bring the people. So that's all I had to kind of add. And by the way, I thought Butch did an amazing job. So great job, Butch. Can you come to my next team party?
Yes, he can.
That's all I have.
Tab, thank you.
All right.
That was awesome. I am so glad you shared that, because what a great way to initiate and innovate relays than making sure we're incorporating our youth. And when you have a student that excels, like beta clubs, a DECA club, these kids are the cream of the crop of the schools, and they're looking for things that gives them service hours and things that are community involvement, because it looks great on their high school and college resumes. So yes, thank you so much for that. That was amazing. And yes, Butch is totally available. In fact, our event leads, I encourage you, well, not in that way, but I encourage you to reach out to Butch. For any ACS CAN, have your ACS mission leads or ACS CAN leads reach out to him for any information, ideas about having a mission moment. This is the guy that you want to reach out to. So thank you so much, Tab.
And thank you as well for what you do. So I, all joking aside, I know you guys live far away, and I won't delay this, but I'm definitely going to put my ACS CAN leads in touch with him, because I thought that was so, you know, I feel like a broken record every year, you know, talking about the same things, but just to hear all of that packed into a couple of slides, and it really is demonstrating the power that we have. And it's, you know, like you said, it's always important to tie it back into the mission and, you know, why we're doing what we're doing. So thanks again, everyone.
Yeah, thank you, Tab, and I appreciate you sharing the domino effect there of how we can grow our events. Was there any other questions or comments, your words of encouragement that you want to share? You know, like I said, we have leadership from multiple relays on the line tonight, as well as staff partners as well. So feel free to ask any questions.
Kendall, Nicholas asked a question in the chat box. He was asking, he said that I have a lot of people that I'd like to share this with, but they were unable to attend the meeting. I've been taking notes, but is it possible to receive a recording of the call?
Yes, we are recording the call. So as far as I know so far, there shouldn't be any difficulties with that. And we are also going to send out the PowerPoint to ELTs as well. So event leads and the entire ELTs will get the PowerPoint presentation that we had here tonight.
Thank you, Nicholas.
Any other questions, comments?
Well, good.
Give some people time back.
Yes. Well, Kendall
Going
and
off
I.
of what was said. I was going to say, going off of what was said about Butch's experience with the ACS CAN and having those mission moments, in Brevard, we've actually found that making sure we include those mission moments really do drive home, you know, the reason why we all do relay, and it's actually had a lot of success for us in terms of recruiting people and fundraising by having the ability to, you know, make sure people know where the dollars go and how impactful it really is. So between CAN and just the ACS mission in general, making sure that you're keeping that in, you know, all of relay and all of your fundraising really is, blanking on the words I want to say here, but it really is impactful towards the success of the relay.
Yeah, it's certainly, I agree with you 100%, Hunter. It brings back perspective, right? We do all of this hard work and we're tired, and yeah, you know, we're volunteers that have full-time jobs, and we get all of that. But when you think about why we're doing this, it puts everything into perspective. So thank you for that. Any other questions? Well, as Kendall said, we are going to have this recording sent via email to you, a link to it. We'll also have the PowerPoint sent to you so you can share that with your ELTs. If you need me to come out and sit at an ELT committee meeting and put this presentation on for you, I am more than happy to do that. Just let me know in advance so I can put it on my calendar. But I am more than happy to explain any of these resources. Your event mentors, please reach out to them. They will be reaching out to you to make sure that you have everything you need to make this the best relay season ever. So I really wanted you to have all of this information. And Kendall and I are going to give you the gift of time back.
I got one question.
We got one more question.
So I've got, it's just jumped. Hang on. So Lewis has just provided a bit of information, but I am going to read it. It's from, let me see, Kenesha McLeod. She says, hello, for some reason I can't unmute, but I was wondering if it would be possible to connect with Kendall. She is attempting to develop teams at Valencia College. So she's obviously looking for a little bit of support there.
Hello.
Yeah, absolutely. Just send an email to my email address there. And Luis, thank you for sharing that, kendall.brown@cancer.org. And I would definitely follow up with you on that.
And if you could share your email too, Kanisha, that'd be great. So we make sure we get to you.
You're most welcome. All right. Any other questions tonight before we, or comments before we give you back some time in your evening?
Excellent. Thanks, Kanisha. Well, we want to wish everyone a very happy holiday season. Hope Santa's good to you. And if you've been good, he will be. And from Kendall and I and Haley and Butch and Hunter and Mary, thank you very much for participating tonight. And please,
James.
And James. I'm sorry. James, very important. James, who was our chat box guy. Can't forget the guy. We will thank you so much, all of you. And here's to some wonderful 2020 season of results. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Welcome.
Bye.
Well, James.